Are horses similarly prone to depression like humans? If so, what are some symptoms and ways to treat it?
Well, this may have been the most fascinating question we've ever gotten.
I
because
loved it.
I actually never considered whether horses get depressed. And it's not a term that we learn about in veterinary medicine. It's more of a human thing, I thought, until I looked it up for this. And it turns out that there is a growing body of research around equine depression. But I want to back up a little bit because, so when I first read this, I thought, oh sure, like a horse leaves the herd and his friend is sad. Well, that's more separation anxiety. And then maybe a horse dies and his buddy is there and knows it happened, and but that's more sadness, grief, right? So then I thought, well, how is sadness different from depression?
Exactly.
So I had to look that up. And it turns out that, and this is a little blend of human and animal, but sadness is a temporary, normal, emotional experience that we all do. And it's about one thing. It's about something. Like my horse friend died.
Sad over one instance.
Exactly,
that happened.
an issue. And depression is an abnormal mental state where you're sad about everything, and it affects your thinking and your behavior and your perceptions, and it's just widespread, and you can't do anything about it. One of the core clinical features of depression, this is a word I did not. This is not a veterinary word.
Okay.
It's a human medical word, but now we're using it on horses because we're studying depression. It's called anhedonia.
I love when you say a good big word like that.
I know, and I'm going to read the definitions just to make sure I get it right, because now I'm treading a little bit into the human medical field. But it's the reduced or inability, lack of the ability to experience pleasure in normally pleasurable activities. So like for horses, we maybe taking a treat, eating a treat. They don't care anymore. Another way to define it is you've lost interest in activities that you used to enjoy. Maybe pasture was like your thing, and the gate would open and you were right there, and you're like,
I was just kind of standing there like.
Yeah. So there's some really interesting research that just happened in France that they validated that this person's question that horses do experience something akin to depression in humans. And first they defined a term, withdrawn horses.
Okay.
So instead of saying a depressed horse, they're calling it withdrawn is their terminology. And it could be a translation thing, I don't know. But they described them as having long bouts of immobility, an unusual posture with backward-facing ears, a flattened neck, and the head fixed. Wide open eyes with unusually long interval and blinking, so like a fixed stare.
So it's just like glassed over almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got it. And then standing in the stall with the head towards the wall, turned away. And so what they're doing is they have tuned out from their surroundings. They've checked out or switched off. And they think, the theory is, it's in response to chronic or long-term physical or mental stress. Yeah, so their study was...
So it's almost like a survival
coping,
mechanism.
a coping, yeah. So the study was, they measured how the control group of normal horses and the withdrawn horses reacted to 5 sounds. The 5 sounds were a baboon call.
Okay.
They'd never heard, right? These are novel noises. A goose call, a whale call, an unfamiliar horse, so a horse whinnying they never heard before, and then a piano.
If my horse heard a baboon call, he would be on the other side of the arena.
Well, right, that's the normal horse.
Yeah.
So the 90% of the normal horses, they videotaped them, had a reaction to these calls. And the interesting thing was, over time, they did this each day, they habituated.
Okay.
They got used to it.
So being exposed to it more frequently, they now weren't so concerned about
and
the
that was
baboon.
normal. The withdrawn horses, so the abnormal ones, half of them had no response to the noise.
Wow. Nothing at all?
Just didn't care.
Wow.
Just didn't care. They were experiencing anhedonia. So, and over time, their reaction didn't change.
Really?
Didn't care. Every day they experiment.
Oh, that's so sad, though.
I know. Well, and so what they're saying is, if you notice a horse that is like this, you need to look into it, you and your vet, because there's a problem. Pain and discomfort is probably the most common reason for horses to check out or withdraw. And so you need to evaluate, is there a soundness issue? Is there a pain in some other part of the body?
Like they're just so uncomfortable that
Their way of coping
Yeah.
is to just check out so they don't feel it. The other thing is evaluate their living conditions. So their social life, their stabling, their turnout, those kind of things. Because especially if other horses in that same barn are experiencing either the withdrawnness or aggression or stereotypical behaviors like cribbing or weaving or stall walking or those, that's a sign that the horse is experiencing stress. So it needs to be looked into.
So then we have to look at what's our entire management program
Exactly.
and are there things we could change.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if there's one horse doing it, it's probably something that just that horse is experiencing, either pain and discomfort or some emotional problem. Or if it's a lot of horses, then it's management.
Are there
most
like
likely.
simple things you could possibly do, like putting them in a stall that's maybe so they can see other horses, or see if they can have a turnout buddy?
I think you
or-
have to. I think observation is key.
Okay.
Is and documenting that horse's experience. So, what is it? Is it that the stall? You know how some stalls are solid walls and don't have any way to see? Maybe he can't see another horse. Like maybe the tack stall is right across from him,
Yeah.
so his front is not even a horse, and his sides are solid. It could be anything, but so your powers of observation are your front here.
And let's be careful though, because like let's observe, but don't necessarily
Yeah.
go up to your horse with a baboon noise right off the bat.
No, don't recreate the study, but just know what's normal for your horse, and if they begin to behave differently, then pay attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all we're saying.
That's so interesting though. It's nice to see that there's a lot of studies going on about that, and
Yeah.
some things I think that we just take as normal behavior for that horse could actually be a deeper issue.
And that it's important that somebody knows that horse is how he acts normally and speaks up when he doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.